The Russian invasion of Ukraine, which started since Thursday last week, has grown into a huge humanitarian crisis. With more cities in Ukraine coming under attack, many have fled the country to escape the carnage that has already claimed the lives of hundreds of people and destroyed numerous properties. Data from the United Nations show that about 1 million people have so far fled Ukraine because of the Russian invasion. In the wake of the armed conflict came the reality that about 8,000 Nigerians were trapped in the war-torn country. Initial attempts by Nigerian citizens and other Africans to cross over to countries having borders with Ukraine, such as Poland, Romania, Belarus, and Hungary, were met with discriminatory actions from Ukrainian authorities, leading to widespread condemnation back home in Nigeria and around the world. To ensure the safety of Nigerians in Ukraine, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs made arrangements to evacuate Nigerians from Ukraine with a senior ministry official, Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi, already in Poland to coordinate the evacuation.
I had to cheer them up because they were all worried. Many of them don't know what's going to happen to their education. Many of them don't know what will happen. But we assure them that they will be well received back home and that they can continue their life. And in any case, nobody knows how long the war will take. So if it ends soon, they can go back to school.
Expectedly, the first batch of 180 evacuees will start arriving in Nigeria today, 4th March from Poland, while other flights from Hungary and Romania will follow. It was a huge relief for evacuees that motherland has come to the rescue. A delegation of the House of Representatives, led by the House Leader, Al-Hassan Ado-Doguwa, has also arrived Bucharest, Romania, on Thursday to oversight and assist in the process of evacuating Nigerian nationals who are mainly students fleeing Ukraine and Russian missiles. In a moment, guests on the program will provide more insight on the evacuation of Nigerians from Ukraine.
All right, thank you, Ekene Ndile, for the background. Just before we introduce our other guests who will be joining us for this conversation, let's quickly introduce Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi, who is the leader of delegation and director, consular and legal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He joins us from the airport in Poland. Thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador Akinremi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam.
Yes, I know in a few minutes now the plane will be taking off. You may have to correct us. But first of all, yesterday we learned of the reshuttling of the flight and, of course, all the stories surrounding it. But give us a clarification, clarify for us, what exactly was the cause of the delay that resulted in the reshuttling of the flight?
Oh, yeah, like we said yesterday, it was because it took time to gather the students together from different hostels and hotels. And by the time we were ready, done with check-in, the crew that had been waiting since 9 a.m. had overshot their duty hours. And so the authority of the airport said they would not allow the flight to take off. We were already at the boarding gate and they said no. So we had to go back to take the luggages, but they retained their tag, and the same tag that we used this morning. So that's that for that. This morning now, by the time we came out at 3 a.m. to airport, a lot of students have also come out who were not there yesterday. So we had a large number now that we cannot take. If I can show you, you probably see them because I have to now reassure them these are the students who just joined, who we cannot take. Because those who will be going with us this morning are already in their own gate. They are already boarding. But the ones here now are the ones that the ambassador here will now take back to the hotel. Hopefully, another aircraft will be sent to them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ambassador Akinremi, well, thanks for your response to my colleague's question. Earlier this week, we had your good self and the Permanent Secretary, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, join us to discuss government's plan to evacuate Nigerians who are fleeing the conflict in Ukraine. Are the plans going as you had indicated to us? You are in Poland now. What do you know about what is happening in Romania and Hungary?
Okay, thank you. As I speak to you right now, over 400 Nigerians just landed Abuja airport from Romania. They now become the first batch to arrive in Nigeria. Apparently, from the arrangement we have, Poland will be the second, and almost immediately, the flight from Hungary will land. So that is the arrangement, and it's still on course. We've not had access to Russia, so we cannot speak as to when the flight there will take off. Commercial flights were arranged for people in Slovakia because of their number. Commercial flights were also arranged for people in Czech Republic because their number is not so great. They were coming in trickles of 10, 20, 10, 20. And so what we did is to just arrange them into commercial flights. And they have even arrived in Nigeria ahead of time. So the plan is on course, and we are moving. So now the ambassador has just evacuated the ones that cannot go. As you can see, I'm still on the same spot. You see that they are no longer there. They've been taken into the bus, and I should also be on my way to board.
Okay. Just before you go to board, Ambassador Akinremi, I really appreciate you doing this for us. What is the condition of the students? Have we recorded any death among them? And why are you unable to get access to Russia to also prepare for the evacuation of other students there?
To get access to where?
To Russia.
To Warsaw. I'm in Warsaw.
Yes, you said you are unable to get access to Russia to prepare for the students there as well.
No. To Russia.
Yes, yes, Russia, Moscow.
Oh, no, not that we were unable to get access. The students were not able to get access from the border to get into Moscow. And they have been cut off from going back into Ukraine. I'm talking of the students in Sumy. So a safe corridor is being planned for them on two fronts. The UN is working to get a safe corridor. India has tabled this in the UN, and we key into that. We are also aligning ourselves with China, because there are a lot of Chinese students in that same school, and we are making arrangements to go with China to have a safe corridor. So whichever comes first, Nigerian students will be taken out of Sumy very shortly.
Ambassador Akinremi, I know you're going to board. I mean, this is like a chartered flight. You look unslept. That's from sharp contrast from what we saw when you were with us in the studios earlier in the week. But tell us something. Are we still dealing with the number of students or persons who had signed up to be evacuated? The Permanent Secretary said the other day we're dealing with about 2,000 persons. What numbers do you have now? And then also clarify for our viewers, there was a report that it's only Nigerians who are registered with the embassies in the respective countries that will be evacuated.
Certainly not. All Nigerians that come out are being evacuated, at least from Warsaw here. And also the numbers have greatly increased. So bigger planes are being arranged now. What we have planned for 180 for the first batch in Poland has now proven not be enough. If we had left yesterday as earlier planned, the number we had then was not up to 180, but now we had over 200 because we had a delay yesterday. So the plan is on course. More people are now out, they want to come. I think our appeal to parents to tell their children to go has really worked, because a lot of them were skeptical before, but now they have made up their mind and they are out.
Okay, just before you would like to, have we recorded any death among our students? No?
No. There has been no fatality. The highest we have had are people that were admitted and were treated. Some of them were injured and they have been treated. Even here in Poland, they have taken them to hospital and they are back. They are now joining the flight. So there will be no death and we don't pray for any.
Okay, Ambassador Akiremi, thank you. But our emphasis appears to be on students. Are there other Nigerians who are taking advantage?
Oh, there are other Nigerians with children here. Yesterday, I interviewed some who they are both parents are Nigerian, but their son is Ukrainian. I was even a bit shocked because they said they don't give citizenship. But they showed me the young boy who was born by a mother and father Nigerian, but he has a Ukrainian passport. And then it's on board as I'm talking to you now. So we are not just taking students or Nigerians who come through the embassy, but everyone who comes to the airport are being taken. And also we are waiting for foreigners. If there are foreigners who, particularly Africans, will take them on board.
All right, Ambassador Akiremi, yes. That's very heartwarming to hear that we are extending the big brother hand to other Africans who, of course, are also now refugees from Ukraine. Would like to thank you for your time, so you don't delay the flight, and then we don't have another reason to delay the evacuation. And just by the way, are all the flights landing in Abuja, or some are going to Lagos? All right. Okay. We understand that we've lost the audio connection to you. We'll ask the question of another of our guests as to the arrival point of the evacuees from the conflict in Ukraine. That was Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi, Director in charge of Consular and Legal Matters at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, we also have another guest who is joining us this time via Zoom from Hungary. That's Shuaibu Muhammad. He's a Nigerian student who was studying in Ukraine. Shuaibu, pleasure to have you this morning. We can see you are fully kitted, which tells us that this is winter still in your location. So where are you in Hungary? Are you anywhere near the airport, or you are still on the fringes of the country?
Good morning, first. Yes, we are, in the beginning, when I joined, we are on the way to the Nigerian embassy here in Hungary. But now, when we reach the embassy asked us, direct us to move to the airport so that everything will be as smooth as planned. Now, currently, we are in the airport reception, waiting for the due protocols.
How many are you? How many are you at the moment waiting at the airport?
Yes. So what has been planned since yesterday is that the plane is going. We are going to be provided with the plane that has 180 passenger seating. So now around about 70 of us is here at the airport. The bus is going back to pick another batch to complete the number 180 persons.
Okay, Shuaibu, how long have you been in Hungary?
Here almost five days.
All right. Where did you escape from?
Because I started my journey from the Ukraine, Kharkov, on Sunday to now to date.
My goodness. So, could you just tell us what your experience was like in escaping the strafing of Ukraine by Russia?
Yes. Yes, the situation actually, it is very terrible. It is not a happy moment because, the situations of crisis like this that like Africa, we never experienced. So everyone must be panicked because of seeing how fire is being shot by the airports, Russian airports. to the Ukraine, especially to the town where I'm studying, Kharkov, because it's one of the target place. So we have been actually very terrible not to hurry to move out. So along the way, some may take 2 days, some may take 3 days. So luckily for me, I take 2 days. I didn't have much difficulties along the way because before I started the journey, some of us have been ahead of me. So I've been asking, contacting them how the difficulty they have been facing. So I try to avoid such, but actually many of us have suffered along the way. They have faced difficulties. Some have to be trekking down 1 kilometer, 10 kilometer, because there are some, I talked to them, they reach the Poland border, but the immigration, their open security there, they deny them entry. So they have to trek down to the Hungarian border so that they can have the access to enter into the Hungary for them to reach the Nigerian embassy.
Shaibu, that must be very terrifying, and we're really sorry for that. We sympathize with you. But tell us, how were you treated? I mean, not just Nigerians. I mean, people of black race. How were you treated by the conflicting party?
What? Come again?
How were you treated, as not just as a Nigerian, but as a person of color by the conflicting party?
Yes, the number of the students here from Ukraine in the Hungary, almost like 400 to 500 students, and now we had that 180 people will be departed to Nigeria because of the situations of the plane. And sometimes because of the students are not cooperating with the situation. The information that everyone should reach the embassy at the right time so that they can fill an evacuation form, they can register themselves with the embassy so that the embassy will have the exam. But some of the students are not cooperating. They will not get the right things, what they deserve. So we locally, when I'm along my way, I have about 30 people. So immediately I land to the Hungary, I directly moved to the embassy. So I didn't face such challenges. I didn't face such problem.
All right, Shuaibu, two aspects here. When you got to the Hungarian border, that's the border between Hungary and Ukraine, how long did it take you to then move from that location to Budapest, which is the capital?
Okay, what happened, we moved, like the journey is I entered train, firstly from the Kharkov to Lviv, then from Lviv to another town called Dahoni. So also I use it to through train. Some places, like when we reach some places that is not very far from one another, we use bus to enter.
Shaibu, we hear that some students are not willing to return. Would you know the reason why?
Some students not to...
They're not willing to come back home, yes. They're not willing to leave Ukraine. Do you know the reason why those students are not willing to leave Ukraine despite the terrible conditions that they are in?
Yes, actually, some students are not willing to leave the Ukraine, maybe because the site they are is maybe they think is safe for them, or maybe they don't have means of transport from the Ukraine, out of Ukraine to any designated border. I don't know. So it is mostly is best known to them. Maybe some of them, they have business to do that, think they cannot let it, or they think this one is not going to maybe reach to their site, or they think it is not to, that it will not be worse like this. But because there are some, when we left them behind, they told us they will not go. So after we have reached Hungary, they started calling us that they are on the way because they see that things are getting more worse than than what they expect.
Shuaibu, well, I know that in Hungary you're now trying to, be sure that, you save your head and others. Are you, by any chance, in touch with any of your former colleagues or associates who are still inside Ukraine? And if so, what are they telling you?
Yes, I have been in touch with 2 persons now. yesterday night, communicating with one guy, I asked him, is he still leaving Ukraine to Nigeria or to any nearby country? He told me, yes, he's looking the way, but mostly the problem is that the way, all the routes after following it, because they will think there will be attack and any exit out of Ukraine, because like it to say, Russians, like they are try to block all the exits out, all the exits of the Ukraine. So it will be very difficult by now for somebody, either by train or by buses, to leave Ukraine, because it will be possibly that any person on the way may fall a victim of the war. So that's what is now making them not to be able to pass out of the Ukraine or to move out of Ukraine.
I know that it's probably too early to ask this question, but just tell our viewers, did you anticipate that things would turn out this way in Ukraine? And then when you started hearing the shell land on Ukraine, what was your reaction? Did you panic? Have you been in this kind of situation before?
Yes, I have never experienced such type of situation like this. In the beginning, I was thinking, how will it be possible that those missiles will be sent into the town, will be set on fire everywhere? Because in the beginning, I was thinking it will not be possible. Maybe they will resolve it before it get into it. But 1 or 2 days is going out of hand. So I must leave out so that I should be first, be safe, because I have the government. I've been communicating with that if we have any serious issues, this is where to take and this is where to go. So by that, I have to run for my safety. And already in my schools and the hostel I'm staying, I tell you, we are about 30 people. So I have to try to talk to them so that we can live out of Ukraine for our safety. Because our parents also, they have been panicking because what they are seeing in the media, so they have to be panic about it. So for that, we are always communicating with them. They are telling what they are seeing on the television, and we are seeing what is on the ground. So we have to use the tool and take a very precautionary measure on good and safety.
Shuaibu, just before we let you go, what course are you studying, and at what level are you? That's one. And then finally, what message would you have for the Nigerian government, who have put this process in place to, come to the rescue of Nigerian students?
Yeah. I'm studying medicine in the school of a university called V.N. Karazim Medical National University, Kharkov. I'm third year now. We're in second semester. Now the advice, what can I say? The advice I will give to the government is to, as they are doing their best, let them put more effort in trying to ensure that, because here, most of the people, like, we look like a refugee here. Some of us are being stranded because of the insufficiency of the flight to take us back. And we are here out of the Ukraine. Some of them are out of cash to take their, food feeding, hostel accommodation. Although the embassy are doing their best to ensure that whoever registers their name in the embassy, they will provide accommodation, they provide feeding to them. But some of us, as I said, they are not so cooperating with the situations. They are facing social challenges. So we're appealing to the government to, as much as possible, to provide more funds to take us all. As I said, 180 people today here in Hungary are going back to Nigeria, because as you can see now, we are now in the airport. You can see my colleagues, they are here sitting down, waiting for the rest of us to be transported by bus from the embassy to here in the airport, Hungary airport, here in Budapest, the capital of the Hungary.
All right. Shuaibu Muhammad, would like to appreciate you for speaking to us this morning, and for your colleagues who haven't been processed to be part of this batch that is leaving Budapest shortly. Let them know what the federal government has done already. It's the President and the Federal Executive Council have approved money for the evacuation exercise, and the plan is to take out some 5,000 Nigerians, students, workers, or family members who have fled the conflict in Ukraine. And it is not a one-off thing. That's to say that after this flight, there will be no other flight. 3 airlines, according to the officials who've been with us on Good Morning Nigeria this week, 3 airlines, Max Air, Air Peace, and Asma, have been penciled for the flights. As you are speaking to us from Hungary, let your colleagues also know that we just spoke to a director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who himself is in Warsaw, and I think that their flight should have taken off from Poland right now, heading back to Nigeria. So the plans are not, but also let them be organized. Once again, Shuaibu Muhammad, a Nigerian student who's studying in Ukraine and now homebound in Budapest, the capital of Hungary. Thanks for being our guest on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
All right, Kingsley, let me quickly back in the studio introduce, of course, one of our guests, Dr. Adoyi Matthew O'Malley, Department of International Relations and Diplomacy, Bayes University. Dr. O'Malley, thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yes, and also to say that Aisha Ango, a Nigerian student, she'll be joining us very soon. Aisha Ango is a Nigerian student studying in Ukraine, but she's back home safely. Kingsley.
All right, Dr. O'Malley, let's take a look at this conflict. There is no indication yet that this is a conflict that would end in the next 24 hours.
Well, there is no indication because of the fierce resistance from the Ukrainian. The Russians have encircled Kiev, Kharkiv, and most of the cities, and have made a lot of gains, especially in eastern part of Ukraine, especially in the Donbas region, which separatist fighters were fighting for some time. So, well, we predict that this crisis is going to be on for quite some time, and I never expected the type of resistance from the Ukrainian. I think that the crisis is going almost to the eighth day now. It's a surprise, because when you put the weapons the Russians have vis-a-vis what the Ukrainians have, we thought it was going to be a 48 hours or at worst 72 hours battle, and Russia would take over Ukraine. But the crisis is prolonging. Nobody can say whether it is going to end in the next 24 hours or in the next 48 hours. But I think the Russians have made a lot of incursion. I read that they are about some few kilometers to the capital, Kiev, just about some few kilometers to the center of Kiev. So, but when they will move in finally is what I don't know.
Okay, Dr. O'Malley, well, we're going to have to pause you in terms of discussing what the prospects are, what the prognosis is for this war. Ukraine is a fairly large country, and it may very well be a war of attrition that doesn't end in 48 or 72 hours. My colleague Claire did say we were expecting another guest to join us also via Zoom, Aisha Ango, another Nigerian student who is studying in Ukraine, has been evacuated and is back home. Aisha, if you can hear us, we know you are in transit, you are back home, but our viewers would like to see your face more clearly, and therefore oblige us by taking off your face mask. Yeah, that's a beautiful face, Aisha. Tell us, how did you? Yeah, thank you. How did you get out of Ukraine?
I got out of Ukraine on Saturday. I went to the Romanian border. I left through the bus.
Where were you in Ukraine? And it looks from the way you say, I got out on Saturday, I took a bus. It seemed to have been a luxury ride, quite aside from the kind of stories that we heard about others.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about I can't hear you.
Okay, you say that you left on Saturday, you took a bus, you got to Romania. I'm saying that it sounds so smooth, and that is not the
It
same
wasn't
story.
so smooth.
Then share with us your experience.
Yes. So what happened?
Okay, so we left I stay in Tunisia. We left the town around let's say 11:30 in the morning, and when we got to the border, we didn't even get to the border because the bus dropped us in a very far distance from the border, and he told us it's just like 1 kilometer. We can walk there, it's not far. And we started walking, thinking that we are close to the border. We kept walking. We saw ourselves walking for up to 4 hours, and it was surprising. My foot with our boxes and our bags.
Aisha, I know you looked better than the last time we had you. We had you on one of our news bulletins. You looked ruffled at the time you were still at the airport, but I'm glad to see your face shining now, and you're a lot more happier. But again, share with us. Kingsley would like to know the details. You gave us a picture of what it was like for you and the rest of your colleagues who had to work for several hours and days before help could reach you. Could you share with us how you were able to leave your school and the treatment you received from the Ukraine officials or Poland officials at the border and all that?
So when the bus dropped us, we were in a group. There were Nigerians and other Africans, so we were going as a group so that it's better when we are together than when we are alone. So we reached the border in the night, very late, it was already dark. And by the border place, there were a lot of people there. Some people had been there for 2 days, 3 days, and the soldiers there were being racist to blacks or non-Ukrainians. They were not allowing us pass the border. They kept pushing us. They were even firing their bullets in the air. They weren't allowing us past the gates. We were there for several hours. Some people even fainted, some people fell down. It was a terrible experience.
Where did you flee from in Ukraine? Was it in Kyiv or in some other city?
No, I school in Venetia. It's like a small town. 3 hours from Kyiv.
All right, now just back up a bit. When did all of this conflict start? And when it started, what was your reaction?
For me, it started on Thursday because as at Wednesday night, I was still telling my parents that the place was calm, there's no cause of alarm, we're okay. And then on Thursday morning, we just woke up and everyone was in chaos. Everybody was shouting, people were running up and down. We woke up to chaos practically on Thursday morning. So that was when the whole situation started on Thursday morning. We even had to cancel our classes and all because everyone was in chaos. People were already running up and down.
I noticed that you're not among those evacuated by the government delegation. Was it a private arrangement? Yeah.
Yes. When I got to Romania on Sunday, my parents started making arrangements to bring me back. I didn't wait for the government. I came to a private means.
Are you in touch with any of your friends who probably are not back home yet?
I am in touch with my friends. Some of them are still in Romania waiting for the government evacuation. As I yesterday, they were supposed to go, but I don't know what happened. They didn't move again yesterday.
Okay, now I'm sure if you spoke to them now, you would have additional information. The government has already made arrangements, and perhaps the flight out of Warsaw in Poland should have taken off by now. We just spoke to another Nigerian student a while ago. So there are efforts to get them out of Romania, Hungary. Commercial flights are also being arranged, commercial tickets, if you like, are also being arranged for others in the Czech Republic and I think one other location. But are you aware of any of your friends or associates who are probably still inside Ukraine? And if so, what are you hearing from them?
Well, for my friends, I think we all left Ukraine. I don't know of any of my friends or anybody I really know that's still in Ukraine. We've all left. We're all in different places. People are in Hungary, Romania, Poland. But we've left Ukraine. We're safe from the war now.
Aisha, describe to us
Yes.
what your feeling on that Thursday when you came out and everywhere, there was chaos everywhere. Were you traumatized? And how do you feel now
I
back at
was
home?
I was really scared. I was really scared. I just called my parents. I was crying to them that I don't know, I'm not safe anymore. That I was really scared. I was really, really scared that day because it was so sudden. It wasn't expected because we're even supposed to have like an exam on Thursday and just woke up and everywhere I just broke down. I actually broke down.
Would you want to go back when things settle down?
What, sorry?
Would you want to go back to continue your schooling, or would you when things settle down?
I
Difficult
don't
question,
know.
Abby.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I can't say for now.
Yeah.
I'm happy I'm back home and I'm just my family at least for now. Just take my right of things.
Yeah. What are you studying, and what is your year of study?
I was studying medicine and I'm just in first year.
Now, tell us. I mean, a number of the guests that we've had, that's to say, students like you, are studying medicine. What was the attraction for medical studies in Ukraine?
Well, from research, Ukraine has a very good medical. They have a very good medical university, and for the fact that it's a medical school, it's like you're going into the work. You're not. There's no background, and they're really trying academically. They're really trying.
Okay.
All right, Aisha Eniola Ango, Nigerian student who studying in Ukraine, but she's back home safely and, of course, in the comfort of our homes with her parents. We'd like to thank you, Aisha, for joining our program and sharing your experience with us.
Yes, thank you, ma. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, back again to the studios, Dr. O'Malley. Dr. O'Malley, we're talking about the conflict.
Yeah.
I was saying before we brought in Aisha that this wasn't going to be a quick fix, obviously, if the intention of the Russians is to say that, look, we would not allow Ukraine to be an outpost. It may very well be a war of attrition, which means long-lasting and perhaps ruinous.
Yes, if you look at the destruction, if you look at what Aisha and Mohammed has, the picture they have painted for us, and the pictures we have been seeing on the internet, you will see that the Russians are shelling. They are shelling, and I saw a picture of the Ukrainian square. I saw the picture before the war started, and I saw the picture by day 3, how the whole of that place was leveled. And the level of devastation is awesome. I foresee that already. I am aware that the Ukrainians have already filed a petition against Russia at the ICC for war crimes, because quite a number of civilian casualties have been recorded in this conflict. I was just like you said. I foresee a very long conflict, especially that the West is very interested in this conflict, and of course, virtually most countries of the world are having sympathy for Ukraine, not because they believe in what Zelensky and his team has put Ukraine into, but because basically any act of aggression against a country will be condemned randomly by other nations, especially that Ukraine is a democratic and sovereign nation. So it will definitely draw a lot of sympathy. And that is why the Ukrainians are also emboldened because of the condemnation of the Russians across the globe.
Dr. Mali, I'm concerned about the people of concern. That's the civilian students who are caught up in this crisis. I mean, we've heard the testimonies of our own, students, who are on their way back home, and Aisha that is back home. Usually, in conflict situations, people of concern, to the UNHCR are given safe access. They are protected, but that does not seem to be happening in this case, or even on both sides, both on the side of the Russians and on the side of the Ukrainians.
Well, I want to commend Poland, Hungary, and Romania and Slovenia. They've tried. You will not just allow people enter your country. They have to take some documentation. I think those are some of the things that were causing delays at the border posts.
No, I'm not even talking. I'm talking about granting those who are fleeing safe passage. You heard Aisha. When they got to the border, they were prevented by the soldiers. At the borders. So these are people, considered as persons of concern who should be granted,
safe
protection.
Passage. Yes. Ideally, because in the war situation, even in the front line, they have to also screen those going out. It doesn't mean that you can stop anybody, because the Convention on Safe Passage, the UN Convention on Safe Passage, make it mandatory for countries to allow refugees to have, both the countries that are receiving the refugee and the country that is in conflict will have to give the refugee free passage. But that does not mean, of course, there are security agents at the border posts. They have to do some level of, they have to do their own work too, in terms of screening those going out, and also doing some other checks on those going out. Maybe that is what is causing the delay. But fundamentally, they will eventually pass, but it's how quick that they are going to make it that I think that's the problem, the delay that is being caused.
But we hear of some form of discrimination, because usually there are minimum, rules that should be respected in times like this. I don't know, Kingsley.
Well, Dr. Molly, the Nigerian government, the senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari, issued a statement with regard to various videos that went viral, particularly last weekend, and condemning the acts of discrimination against Nigerians and other Africans. And for Africans, it would appear that the conflict in Ukraine has also been signposted by the number of racist incidents. There were accounts, documented accounts, the videos are there, of black persons who were being prevented from boarding buses or boarding trains, black women, black children, and so on and so forth. It was as if they were being pushed aside to go and die inside Ukraine, while Ukrainians were being allowed to make their exit from the country. I'm just curious about this. What do you make of the reaction of the international community to these racist incidents? The EU issued a statement in Kenya saying, that those incidents were not true, against the evidence of Nigerians who were there and other Africans who witnessed and experienced the racist incidents.
Yes, I watched the video. Racism is high, especially in Eastern Europe. For a very long time, my friends and people I've interacted with there, especially in the Ukraine-Russian axis, there's a lot of discrimination against black people in those climes, and that brings us to the issue of their disposition. Russia. Historically, and Ukraine have not been an open society. It has always been the socialist republic until 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. Unlike, yes, in the US and in the West, there are discrimination, but because of human rights issues, because you have a more open society, they are a bit more tolerant. But in the East, especially in the areas of Russia, Ukraine, there are really a lot of discrimination against black people. And what you see play out during during this conflict, where blacks were being prevented from boarding trains and buses and all this, is a culmination of what has been happening to blacks over time in those places. The racism is very, very high, and the authorities in both Ukraine and Russia have done little to sensitize their people to protect, unlike the West, where the media is very proactive in exposing racism. Like you saw what happened in America, where Black Lives Matter. It became a universal slogan. In places like Ukraine and other eastern parts of Europe, such open act of victimization against blacks have not been really taken up by the government to sanction those who are involved in it and also to protect blacks that are resident in those places. And in times of this crisis, I'm happy that it has brought the issue down to the front burner. When this crisis settled, a lot of civil society organizations, a lot of people will have to look into the racism that is very prevalent in the Eastern European part of the country. Maybe because of their historical background and ideological disposition in the past, that they have not been able to open their society. Their society has not been put into public searchlight, especially scrutiny about their human rights violations and so on and so forth. Maybe that is why it is coming to the fore now, because they are now in the spotlight. Ordinarily, if this crisis have not happened, we would have not had this type of reports, or this type of report would have not been very glaring.
Usually, evacuations are supposed to be done by professionals.
Yeah.
You know, people trained in humanitarian evacuation. And would you say maybe some of these fallouts, you know, the ill treatment and discrimination, it's as a result of unprofessional handling of evacuation process?
Yes, in as much as I want to praise the Nigerian government for even doing what they are doing now, I believe that it is coming a little bit late. We are only trying now to carry out an emergency operation. There have been no deliberate plans. Even when we knew that this war was brewing, Russian forces for over 2 weeks were massed at the border of Ukraine. Countries were taking proactive steps to protect their citizens and to evacuate their citizens. Here in Nigeria, we kept mum. We were not doing anything proactively to begin to organize our people and see how we can bring them back. But we waited until the crisis started. And when the crisis started, all the Nigerians have to find their way, just like you heard in the report. They have to find their way. So there was no coordination. There were no deliberate program of evacuation. Only those who have been able to find their way into Romania or Poland or Hungary, like you saw Aisha came home on her own without even government support. So in as much as I want to praise the Nigerian government, because this is not the first time. During the COVID-19, similar evacuations were done, especially those stranded in UK and some other places. They were brought back. So I think the Nigerian government is just getting in tune with this kind of evacuating citizens from other places. I think they will get it right. We are beginning to know that citizens diplomacy is the way to go. We are beginning to know that taking the interest of our citizens is paramount whenever a crisis occurs. And that is why the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is there, so that they can proactively take care of the interests of Nigerians. You can imagine the joy of parents welcoming their children from a war-torn situation. You can see the joy in Aisha's face and the smiles, you know. It's like you are coming from hell.
You should have seen her when she spoke with us.
Yeah, I just wonder, well, it's not the first time that Nigeria is doing this. We saw that a couple of years ago,
Yes.
following the murderous xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Nigerian government, through Air Peace, also responded by airlifting willing Nigerians out of that mayhem that broke over parts of South Africa. I was just wondering, the images that are being either broadcast or published out of Ukraine, these are images similar to what we had seen in Iraq, what we had seen in Libya, what we had seen in Syria, and what the world had seen in Yemen. When is the world going to be at peace with itself?
Conflict theories believe that as long as human beings exist, there will be conflict.
Depending on what you mean by peace, anyway.
Yes, and as long as nations pursue their interests within the international system, and as long as, even in the homes, husband and wife, they used to disagree and fight, then you are talking about the international system. That is why the United Nations was established. The United Nations was established to ensure that there's peace and harmony in the international system, that countries can sit down together and address their issues. When there are tensions, the United Nations is supposed to step in. But unfortunately, the United Nations is like a toothless bulldog. You could see the resolution at the UN Security Council, where Russia has to use a veto. I think this issue of veto powers conferred on supposedly superpowers or great powers will have to be reviewed.
Exactly.
At the end of this conflict, if we are very serious about democratizing the United Nations, then this is the right time for people to begin to look at how we can make the United Nations much more effective. Since this crisis started, even from the build-up to the crisis, I'm sorry to say the United Nations have not been as proactive as I expected.
What do you expect? Because at the moment, you know, a lot of members have maintained a neutral position with regard to what's going. And you don't think that neutrality, you think they should be more forceful?
You see, what is the major basis for, after the Second World War, we saw that there were a lot of gaps in the operation of the League of Nations. What were the major reasons why the League of Nations failed? The League of Nations failed because one of the principal reasons was exclusion. After the First World War, Germany was excluded from being a member of the League of Nations and some other nations. And that made the League not to be an all-inclusive body. Now we have come to the United Nations, where 5 members have veto powers at the Security Council. That means if, just like Russia vetoed the decision the other day, that means any decision that the Security Council takes, as long as one of the 5 members veto it, that means the decision, the United Nations Security Council cannot move on any issue. So we have to look at the reforms of the United Nations, because if the United Nations was actually proactive, I see no reason why the United Nations wouldn't have been able to drag Ukraine and Russia to a negotiation table, with the United Nations facilitating, being the facilitation of their negotiation.
It's like,
it's interesting, these perspectives that you have brought on. But something is also brewing. Ukraine is calling for foreign volunteers to come and join its forces in fighting the Russians. It's a curious perspective.
Really curious, because I know that some, I've discussed with some Nigerians. Of course, I'm a teacher, so in class I put the question, how many of you are willing to go to Ukraine to fight and earn dollars?
you know, Dr. Male, maybe in place of the veto, we should have a decision by the majority.
Yes, not necessarily decision by the majority, but decision by the at least larger number, 2/3 of members and so on.
I asked a question about Ukraine calling for volunteers.
Yes.
Because there was a report in some of the papers yesterday about some Nigerians saying they would volunteer. Something has happened in Senegal. The Senegalese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has summoned the Ukrainian ambassador following a Facebook post inviting the Senegalese volunteers to go and fight in Ukraine. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that that was offensive to diplomatic relations, and that Ukraine couldn't possibly use that as an opportunity to seek to recruit Senegalese nationals to go and fight in his war. And the Facebook post was pulled down.
Yes, you see, recruitment of mercenaries have always been used. Even during the Nigerian Civil War, we read that the Biafrans were able to get mercenaries to fight during that war. So countries, yes, can recruit mercenaries, but this is the first time I'm hearing where a country will put a general invitation all worldwide for anybody who wish to come and fight to be recruited to fight. I mean, it's a new aberration. But what I thought Zelensky and his team would have done was to try and convince one or two of the allies to help with military support in terms of having more military intervention.
Well, Dr. Mali, they are sending some form of support, but not, of course, be involved directly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they are.
I know they are sending support,
Yes.
but what I'm saying is that to actually get one or two of the allies, because even in the
Sorry, we can't continue this discussion. We've run out of our time. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, Dr. Mali. Dr. Adoyi Matthew Mali, Department of International Relations, of course, at the and Diplomacy at the Base University. Always a pleasure to have you share your perspectives with us.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that does it for this conversation. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. The 4th of March each year is set aside by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, as World Engineering Day, and the purpose is to celebrate engineers and innovations of engineering globally. And joining us to discuss the world of engineering, that's the said celebration for this year, 2022, we have two guests. Claire?
Okay. First, let me welcome Engineer Tasiu Saad Gidari Wudil. He is the President, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Engineer Wudil, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
We also have Engineer Chinasoku Okolie. He is Vice President, Collaboration and Linkages, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Engineer Okolie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, ma.
All right.
All right, Engineer Tasiu, that's President of Society of Engineers. Let's begin with you. What is the theme for this year's celebration? And what is the local perspective?
Well, the theme for this year's celebration is Build Back Wise. That means we want to, the activities of engineers all over the world usually interact with the climate. In fact, the cause of climate change is the activities of engineering mostly. And we're looking back, say, okay, let us recover what we lost. So that will aid sustainability. So that is why we're calling it Build Back and this. And it's, the aim is to make sure that we implement the SDGs. And out of 17 SDGs, only 4 are not directly linked to the engineering. So that's why United Nations and UNESCO declared that we should recover whatever we are doing, our design, our operations, will be thinking of how to recover the climate. And we know what the effects of climate change as we are feeling it now. So these are the reasons why this year's theme is Build Back Wise, and make sure that our designs, our thinkings, in our designs, in our operations, is geared towards that.
Kingsley, it's quite interesting to hear engineers talk about sustainable development, and all that. And I'm wondering, Engineer Chinasoku, the application of this, to achieving Agenda 2030. In which area specifically are you building back wiser?
Well, thank you, ma. Like my president said, out of the 17 agenda of the SDGs. It's only 4 that is not engineering, science, technology, and mathematics, going back to our STEM. Project. Now, if we know that, then we know that engineering has a lot to do in sustainable development. And what is sustainable development? Making sure that our children and our grandchildren will have a better environment when they come on. Engineering all over the world, all the countries that have moved from one point to another, made so by virtue of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Without prejudice to other professions, I think what we need to do is to get our acts right in the field of engineering, science, technology, and mathematics, because these are the places that try to lift and sustain any nation of the world. And the truth, again, is that, well, with all that is happening in the country, we know that we are getting there one day with the recognition that is coming out, especially from the government, of engineers and engineering activities.
Engineer Tasio, I want to repeat part of my earlier question. How does this theme resonate with our local environment and therefore the challenges for engineers and engineering?
Yes, locally we have Nigerian engineers involved in almost every aspect of engineering in Nigeria. And let me give you an example. The Nigerian liquefied natural gas. If you go to that industry now, you'll find out that 99% of the engineers are Nigerians. And for us in Nigeria, we are not isolated from the rest of the world. It applies, simple principles of engineering apply everywhere. The same mathematics we do is the same mathematics they do in Ukraine. The same thing they do in Saudi Arabia, in Japan. It's the same thing. So we are not isolated. It affects us in all aspects of our life. And in our own designs, we're supposed to make sure that there's sustainability. In our own waste management, we are supposed to make sure that the environment is not affected. And don't even forget that conflicts, most conflicts, come as a result of engineering activity. Most of them. Today, the water in Lake Chad is gone. It's human activity. There is a lot of climate change. Recently, the heat that is hitting us now is mostly due to emissions. When the engineer does not design, does not operate in accordance with the principles, the standards, then of course what you expect the environment to be affected. So here in Nigeria, we are not isolated from the rest of the world. We are just telling ourselves that we just have to make sure that whatever design we do, whatever way we say this machine or this system has to be maintained, it has to be done that way. That's what we are telling our colleagues. And we're telling the rest of the world. And everywhere. Today we have 24-hour World Engineering Day. 24-hour. Where activities all over the world will resonate. From Australia down to Costa Rica, where we're doing our World Engineering Summit. So we have this, as Nigerians, we are part of the ecosystem.
You know, thanks, Engineer Tasio, Engineer Collier. I would like you to also speak to this. Yes, it is one thing to be part of the global celebration of World Engineering Day. And this is not the first time we are hosting engineers on Good Morning Nigeria. But specific to sustainable development and our own national circumstance, what does this mean? You know, we can speak about engineering in broad terms, X, Y, Z. It's completely about heat and what we are all feeling at the moment. 99% of engineers at LNG, they are Nigerians, but our refineries, we know what the state of the refineries is. So what does SDG mean in terms of engineering and adapting it, you know, to the local environment?
Yes, thank you very much. That is where we talk about adaptation, either of technology or of anything. Now, the locals, the professionals who are within a space should, as a matter of fact, adapt whatever that is accepted to their own specifics. Our own specifics now in Nigeria, my president said it, heat. In the temperate regions, it is not heat, but cold. So while we are still hooking on to the 17 SDG points, the local professionals, engineers, are the people that we now say, okay, this is how we do this one here. The LNG you talked about, my president said it too, about over 90% are engineers from Nigeria. That means that we have the enormous professionals to do our own bidding. Then taking it out from there, escalating it a little, that is where we should be allowed. Professionals should be allowed to handle their things the way that they know how to do it best, the way they are trained to do it, like their counterparts all over the world. When you go outside Nigeria, professionals are the people who are taking charge. Let us allow professionals in Nigeria to take charge. Let us allow engineers in Nigeria to take charge. By the time they take charge, we will surely see the difference. The books that, engineering books that are read are the same thing all over the world. And don't forget too that Nigerians who, primary school, secondary school, university in Nigeria, when they go outside Nigeria, you see them performing wonders, coming on top, breaking all the records there. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we are capable, but maybe our operating environment, we need to do one or two things.
You know, Engineer Chinasuku, thank you. And my question will go to both of you, whoever wants to take it. I know that one of the thrusts of SDG now, you know, given the limitations of resources, is that, you know, implementing countries, you know, do so based on homegrown solutions. Now, with regards to making our climate a better place, making, you know, the environment a better place, right now we're trying to reduce carbon emission into the atmosphere. Nigeria has its own nationally, you know, contributions. We are trying to transit to renewable energy. And this is where engineers come in. How are we, you know, adapting the homegrown solutions, you know, and applying it to SDG goals, especially in the area of energy transition?
Okay. Luckily, I'm an energy man.
Oh.
I must tell you, there are so many homegrown solutions. There are so many research work. Our colleagues are building prototypes. The unfortunate thing is we are not the rich type. The engineers, Nigerian engineers are not rich. And I must tell you, it is difficult to get funding. And that is why this administration of ours, we just came in January, we have a vice president that is assigned on technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And we intend to seek for support from government, from private sector, to just make sure that whatever prototype we come, whatever design we come up, can be supported to be produced in an economic way. Because we have produced so many things that are not economical. You find out that you produce something in Nigeria, a cheaper one will come from China. So if you...
Or from any other country.
From any other country. So, and you find out that most of our products, our colleagues, when they develop something, they will look outside. And they will sell the patent to someone outside Nigeria, and it comes back to Nigeria. So we have the intention to engage our colleagues. We have the intention of also coming up with technology hub in our secretariat. Our secretariat is going to have a whole floor for technology hub. And we have the concepts, we're just waiting for approval by our council. And that locally, we have the research work to solve Nigerian problems. Let me give you an example. A minister challenged us, one of our colleagues who is a minister, and suggested that all these old cars we have in Nigeria, giving out soot, causing carbon emissions, can't we convert it to use gas?
Exactly.
LPG? I said, yes, he's a mechanical engineer. So we took it up. The mechanical engineers said, well, they're going to do it. Yesterday, I had a meeting with a young engineer, a young mechanical engineer, and he has taken up the challenge. And I have promised that I'll use my veto, even as the president, and finance it. So all we need as Nigerian engineers is the challenge by the society that, look, we want you to solve this problem. But we'll find out that most of the time, we are seen as, well, these people are just paper engineers. We are not. We are not. We have our colleagues. We have 83 branches of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. 4 of them are outside the shores of this country. We have Glasgow, we have London, we have Manchester, we have Houston. And very soon, we are going to have Saudi Arabia. Our colleagues are there. They are running the systems there. They are part of us. They are members of Nigerian Society of Engineers.
Engineer Tasio, thanks a lot. I mean, it's heartwarming that as part of green designs, some Nigerian engineers, I think University of Benin and one other Federal University of Technology, they have designed electric cars. I've seen them. That's a prototype that's working. But we have one major issue with us in Nigeria. Has to do with the durability of our dual carriageways. Yes, we can complain that there is no respect for axial load regulation. In other words, it's a truck that is supposed to convey 200 bags of cement, you find it conveying 900 bags, vehicles are overloaded, and so on and so forth. And a new road, within a matter of years, you find that the road begins to fail. Isn't that sufficient an engineering challenge to say why we are seeking to revamp our railways? Can we think of alternative designs that will ensure that our roads last longer, especially as we are also unable to immediately deal with the lack of respect for axial load regulation?
Thank you very much. I'm almost lost because the terminologies you use, I thought I was listening to an engineer speaking. But having said that, yes, the truth is that all over the world, there are challenges. And when there are challenges, that's the work of the professionals to attend to. The case of the axial loads of vehicles, especially the heavy vehicles that are transporting, yes, is a challenge. But taking it back a little, we can include that in the design. That is increasing the cost of the project. And that is why we need to separate what is economical and what is not. In most climes, those heavy materials are conveyed from one point to another by trains. We should go back to our railway systems, get them back on board, as many as possible, connecting different places, so that when we take all these heavy loads off our highways, then our highways will be better for us. Thank you.
All right, Engineer Chinna Sokuko, the Vice President, Collaboration and Linkages, Nigerian Society of Engineers. I'd like to thank you, and I know that we'll have time to engage, the professionals at other time. Let me also appreciate Engineer Tasio Saad Gidari Udil, President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, to also congratulate you on your new position. Thank you. All right. And now, motorsport.